Ladies and gentlemen, hamburgers and cheeseburgers, welcome to Where the Dogs of Society Howl with Brand Artica and Peter Jude Ricciardi. And this here is my friend Jeff Litkowski. Jeff, say hello, Jeff.
Hello, everyone.
We got a great one today, and we've got some really interesting things happening. We got a great guest. We may end up with a surprise pop-in for some breaking news in the brand world, food, beverage, CPG angle. He's going to drop some hot takes, I hope, and we'll see if he gets here in time or whatnot. But we'll just get started. Jeff, how are you today? Where are you at? You're in lovely Seabrook by the sea.
Yes, Seacoast, New Hampshire, right on the Massachusetts border,
next to the nuclear plant.
Nuclear power plant. Yes,
love it, love it, love it. I am in Maine today, living my best coastal life up on a not to be disclosed island off the coast of Southport. And we are going to be talking today about the brand messaging myth, how one size doesn't fit all.
That's true.
That's right. Everybody is not really in your target audience. They can be, but the idea here is your brand might dream of reaching millions and millions of people, but your message still needs to feel like a whisper in the right person's ear, not a megaphone blasting into the void. So, should you target your audience, be ultra niched? Is that the word, Jeff? Niched.
It's like cash.
Or go broad. Should your messaging adapt by age, location, background, ethnicity, interests, what have you? I mean, the short answer here, I think, Jeff, would be.
Yeah, I mean, it's not that it's not good to know what your segment is, right?
Right. No, you gotta.
But sometimes you don't even realize there's other opportunities and different ones.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So I want to bring our guest in, and we've got to do this right as we normally do, usually, with a nice big intro. Our guest today is one you call when your brilliance can't be bottled and your message keeps falling flat. She's the one. She works with founders and leaders. Whose work is deep, complex, and multi-layered, but sounds scattered when they talk about it. Her name, of course, is Arielle Davis, and she helps you name what you do, why it matters, and how you say it with clarity, depth, and resonance, so that you can stop losing people at hello. Let's welcome to the stage Arielle Davis. Hello.
Hi.
I didn't lose you, right?
No.
Nope. We're all here, I believe. We're all here. I hope we've got, I'm going to check out, make sure we've got, see who's showing up here. We are starting soon. We're in the mix. And it looks like we had a pretty good audience lined up for today. So I'm excited. Arielle, why don't you tell us a little bit about you so everyone listening can pick up what you're putting down?
Well, thank you so much for that great intro. So I'm Arielle Davis. I'm a content and communication strategist. And what I tell people when they talk about my work, a lot of people work in branding, they work in visibility. I'm not necessarily focused on getting you seen by your customers. I'm focused on helping your customers feel seen by you through the language that you use. And that's really it. I think that people underestimate communication, which continues to be strange to me. It's interesting. I had somebody in the DM like, how are you going to help me grow my business with just words? And I was like, how are you planning on doing it without them is like what I'm curious about. And so that's really what I help people do. I help them find a message that clicks and sticks and resonates with the right people.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. You know, when you and I first met and we had this joyous conversation, and I told you are like bursts of sunshine, honestly, which we need. You were talking to me about, it's not just brand messaging content and stylizing the words that are representing you or your personal brand or your business brand. It's about crafting messages. And forgive me if I get this wrong, but one of the things we were talking about, I think, was like speaking to people where they're at.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that, I have this conversation a lot specifically around direct outreach. People think direct outreach doesn't work, that everybody thinks it's spam. but it's not if you can hit somebody's pain point in the first couple of lines, especially on a platform like LinkedIn. When I very first started on this platform, I tried to be very like witty and build rapport with people. That worked with you. It did not work with many people. They told me to F off, most of them.
You're lost.
Yes. Yeah. And so I had to go back to the drawing board and say, okay, like, what is it that I can say to make somebody lean in? And so as we're going to be talking about myths, I think one of the biggest ones that we have to start with is that like your message is about what you do. And I would even also lean in to say it's probably a myth for you to say it's about who you serve. I just don't think people are drilling down deep enough and getting granular enough with that. It's about how you make that person feel. And if you can make somebody feel something, you can shift them into some sort of action. So with everything I do, especially when it comes to any messaging for any brand, I want their customers to feel seen. I want somebody to open a direct message for me and be like, is she reading my mind? Like, is she hanging out in my office? And I think that a lot of brands underestimate that for their customers and their clients. It's like, does this person know me? You need to make somebody feel like, wow, she knows me. And I haven't even explained like the things that I'm struggling with, but somehow she's intuited like that this is a problem for me and she has a solution.
Right on. Yeah. And Jeff, I think you and I think about that. We talk about that with our own agency even sometimes and go, oh yeah, you know what? We keep talking about all the things we're doing, but we're not really telling you what we're doing for you, and that's really more important. The fact that we're creative, and I always tell people this. We tell people we're a creative agency. I mean, that's table setting. That's what gets you on that's what you get a seat at the table. Right. That's a guarantee. That's a given. If you're not creative, you really shouldn't be, operating maybe an agency that does design work, right? Yes. So that's one of the things. And then my question, and Jeff, I want to know how you feel about this part, is going, making the leap from, I get it, you're right, we really need to look at the content on our site and retool the way we're positioning ourselves. But then there's getting to that. How are we able to, what are the best ways to bridge that gap and say, not only do I hear it and I think you're right and we should do it, but now how do we get to like fucking do it?
Right. But I mean, I was just going to say, part of like what we're talking about here is understanding your audience. The word psychographics, right? So like, understanding what their values, their interests, lifestyle, any attitudes, personality, those kind of things where they, the more you understand, pain points is one of them, right? In terms of, who we're talking to, but we have to understand too, like this is a community and you have to be part of that community. And we're all, business owners on LinkedIn, a lot of us anyway, in the community that we're, looking for new clients, right? But the first step, I think, is to become part of that community. And the way you become part of the community is you share who you are. Like we're talking about who we are right now, and we post about who we are, and that's how they get to learn who we are as people first.
Yeah.
Well, we've got a few people coming in now, and I wanted to give a shout out to Rob Unger, Michael McPherson, the lovely and talented Wade Yenny.
Yes,
joined us finally. Thank you. I wanted to ask, because actually Rob has a question that gets to the heart of this, and I wanted to see if you have an opinion on this. He says, sales I get, but do you think being a professional or being professional or relatable is better? What's the balance? Is there a balance? Should there be a balance? How do we get there?
Is that question for me?
Yeah, I would say so. Okay, anybody.
Yeah. I do think that there's a balance between being professional and relatable, and it's difficult to strike. Every piece of content that you put out needs to show that you are an expert at what you do and that you understand the people that you are there to serve. However, if I just put out content or posts that are just talking about my business all the time, that don't tie back to some sort of experience that I've had that people can feel, then it's really difficult to convert those people. Because the truth of the matter is, like, I am not the only person who does communication and messaging. There are a lot of different people who do this kind of work. what separates me is my uniqueness, what I bring to it. And for me, that I have a background in emotional wellness, I have a background in journalism. You two know this from branding. Like, a lot of the work is deeply introspective and mirroring for people. And so my specific way of mirroring my experiences, I believe, is what attracts people to me. I say this all the time. I'm very fiery. I'm very sharp. If I don't come across that way in my content, if people aren't seeing that part of my personality, once we hop on the call, they're going to be like, oh, wow, I was expecting Meghan Markle and I got like Doja Cat. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like,
Right.
it's just... So there is a balance there. You need to make sure that everything that you talk about is tying back to, hey, here's how I can serve you. Here's where I'm most powerful. But also, you need to make sure you're doing that in a way that's genuine to you. Like, if I show up in pink and I'm like baking things, our long-term relationship is not going to be sustainable. I say all the time, like, stop catfishing people on LinkedIn.
Yes.
Being one person in your online profile and then another person when you hop on a sales call. Because we all know when we're talking big money, I know everybody wants to like build a funnel, but when you are like have a high ticket item, you're going to have to talk to somebody on the phone. And I make this reference, the carpet needs to match the drapes. It really does. Like, nobody wants to be.
I love that.
Did this show just go sideways again? Last time we were talking about, what were we talking about? O-holes and
F-holes in guitars.
I'm amongst safety and peers who get it. But truly, like, nobody wants to get to the deed, and the deed is like the transaction or where intimacy increases and be like, wait a minute, you're not the person I saw in that profile picture. Who is this?
Yeah. Right. Yeah. And then we've got a question from Michael here, which is kind of a few parts. He's curious about the process. What's your process when it comes to brainstorming brand ideas and messaging? Maybe that's for us or maybe for all of us. And where do you draw inspiration from? I think that's for all of us. And Jeff, why don't you talk a little bit about some of the brainstorming when we talk about brainstorming brand ideas and Arielle, we could talk about how you dig into that a little bit further with your clients to say, like, this is what this is going to look like. We're going to have a conversation. I want to know this, that, and the other thing about you before we move forward. So, Jeff, why don't you jump in first with some of the process about brainstorming for ideas and messaging?
I'd like to just start like it more in a high level, which is when you're looking at a brand and you're trying to think about, it's not just about like the creative that would differentiate it, right? But it's also the messaging, right? So if everyone in that category is saying the same thing, it's an opportunity for a creative to say, well, what are they not saying, right? Find out what they're not saying that this brand can say to differentiate itself. So it's always about thinking about not how do I fit in to what's already there, but how do I make it so that I cannot be ignored because I'm saying something different in that space. And that's more like a high level look at how you can, start brainstorming brand ideas and messaging in that you speak to them in a different way that still connects with the same target audience.
So, Arielle, where do you get your sort of inspiration when you are talking to someone? Are there certain areas of the psyche, dark, cobwebby corners of the brain you want to get into or not get into to help you sort of help them tailor that message, sculpt it down to something that really makes sense to them?
Yeah, so my process is really questions based, but it's kind of similar to what Jeff is saying, just from a little bit of a different lens. So when he mentions like, what are other brands not saying? I sort of take that same approach to the brand that's in front of me. I'm sort of trying to pressure test assumptions about what's clear, what's not clear. And so I don't really start at a high level. I start at a deep level. Like, our first date is going to be intense. Like, once we're sitting down having a conversation, I'm going to ask you to articulate the work you do. I'm going to ask you to articulate who that work is for. I'm going to make sure that you have a deep understanding. And a lot of that is done through me, like you explaining something to me. I'm always more interested in what people are not saying, because that's where the truth usually lives. And if they tell me I don't know, or we're circling something, I drill deeper. If people speak in vague language, I drill down deeper. And then it just really depends on the client. Sometimes it's better for me not to talk to the people who are running the branding or running point on something. It's better to talk to their customer service people because they're on the ground, right? Talking to people and seeing how people are really perceiving the product. We need to know if like you're actually selling something quality, because the message may not actually be the issue.
Right.
And then sometimes it just really depends on the scope of the work. But if it's a smaller brand, like I'm working with the founder, it really is just a conversation-based process where I'm asking them questions, asking who their target customer is, asking what that target customer is struggling with. And then I'm listening for the gaps in information, because a lot of people have the curse of knowledge. They're just too close to it. I always say it's a bit like trying to be your own therapist. You think, you know what, I am seeing this situation clearly. I'm seeing it from all sides, and typically you're not. And it's my job to mirror like what you're missing.
And I guess for me, the whole idea of inspiration and creativity and brainstorming, I love to ask a lot of people what they think about this, that, and the other thing. Hell, if I have a chance and I'm not going to the easy pass lane, I'll ask the guy at the toll booth, what do you think of this? Who knows? You never know. You ask the people in the mailroom, what do they think? But it's more like what you said when you talk to the customer service people who are on the ground, who are in the field, who are there, someone that stocks the shelves. How does this work like that? We had I've seen products where I go, the brand design is beautiful and really, I want to say like aesthetically pleasing, but not thought out enough to realize that the guy that stocks the shelves isn't going to turn every single can in the same direction so people can read it. They're not going to fucking do that. And if your label design is like brilliant up front and on the back end, chances are a lot of people are going to end up seeing the back end first, and they're going to keep moving. So I look for that kind of stuff. But what's the whole thing? I'm a big fan, and you know me well enough. And Jeff, you know too much. I'll have to get rid of you. I like to break things into 1,000 pieces and then look at it again. If I have to, we talk about clients that want a tree on their logo. And I go, but what if we cut the tree in half and look inside? Oh yeah, the rings that everybody uses. Let's not do that. Let's split it the long way and take a look. Let's see what the bark texture is and make that the basis of our design. There's so many ways to find inspiration, and you do just have to be one of those people who's curious enough to scratch beneath the surface. And that's what you do, I think, in a lot of ways, is you get beneath that surface.
Yes. And you will know probably from your work, you tell me. I think the kind of work that I do specifically, because it is language based and because like I am asking people to do something that's very uncomfortable, which is articulation for a lot of them. And, people think that they know what they do until you ask them what they do. And then suddenly it's just like, I do 1,000 things, and they haven't learned to distill it down into something that is digestible for people and easy for people to understand. And so part of my job is to be sort of the person that's challenging them. I read something the other day that resonated with me that was just like, maybe you're not everybody's cup of tea. Maybe you're ayahuasca for people, because like they have to confront
me.
They have to confront the parts of themselves that they haven't seen yet. And as somebody who is operating in a professional space, our culture has made it to where you have to know everything, especially if you're in a leadership position. And so part of my job is disarming them to be like, hey, this is a safe space for you to fail. This is a safe space for you to be like, for you to know that maybe what you're doing is not working. Maybe just a tree is not going to reach people the way you think it is, right?
But but we cut down trees, Shouldn't our logo have a tree? Absolutely. Someone cutting it down.
Part of the problem, I think, especially for founders, is they're getting all of this advice, like stay in your lane, just have your focus and don't be distracted. But a part of that is really good, right? Like not being distracted and being mission driven and having momentum and all that stuff is great. But like you asked the question, like, so who's your target audience? The question really is, who do you think your target audience is, right? Because it's what, if you're doing this all day long, then you're not seeing maybe there's other opportunities there, and you're missing out because you're so focused on what you think is where you should be going.
Yeah.
Most people don't talk about how important curiosity is in the process, and that's why professionals like us are brought in, because every creative is deeply curious. Every creative is trying to figure out how to make sense of the world. Whether you're writing a novel, whether you're painting, it's just like I'm observing these things and I need to put them in a format that's digestible. That's what we all do in very different ways. And I think people who are sort of business minded and CEO minded, to your point, they're like so focused on the car in front of them and following what it's said to do, to be like narrowed into this unique offer or whatever, because they're uncomfortable with the idea of uncertainty, which is, I think, another myth around branding and messaging. It takes testing and iteration, and people don't like that. It makes them uncomfortable. Like, I need to make sure that we get this right on the first try. And we're talking about reaching people who are complex. So if you're so focused on like how you think it should be done, and you're focused on that car in front of you, you're going to miss all the road signs that say there's a cliff ahead, or like, you know what I'm saying? It's just, no, this is the way Steve Jobs did it, and that's what I need to do.
Right.
That's exactly right.
It's like trying to drive home from somewhere without looking at the road, but just following your GPS. You know, there's shit you're going to hit, you're going to miss, you're going to, it just doesn't work that way. It's interesting. We do have another question from Rob. He posts a boatload, as if you will, guest load on LinkedIn, and he's new to it. He's not sure where his purpose is or what his topic should be. It's vaguely involved with work. He treats it in some sense almost like Facebook. He's looking for a better way to use LinkedIn without sacrificing authenticity.
Yeah. I think that's a great question. I would really look at what your goals for the platform are. And I think you're doing exactly the right thing when you very first start on this platform. There are going to be a lot of people that tell you that there's a specific formula that's one size fits all that works for everybody. And that is absolute bullshit. But the best thing that you can do is show up as yourself. Now, if you have an area of expertise, be sure to showcase that. Like, it's not enough to be like, I'm the guy who really loves, I don't know, barbecue and cats. Like, what? That's not enough to convert a customer. But if you have some sort of expertise, a skill set, you can talk about that in ways that are unique and true to your experience. Like, I talk a lot about self-awareness, embodiment, but all of that goes back to messaging, because those are going to be a part of the process that we go through in my work. But if you're new to it, I would say don't rush it. Ignore most of the people who tell you there's a one size fits all formula. They're lying. And try different things. Don't even just try posting. Try DMing people. For me, in my experience, and I preface with that because, again, I don't believe in a one size fits all. Direct outreach was the most terrifying thing that I did. And it was not friendly at first, but it has also been the most rewarding thing I did. I wouldn't even be on this show if I hadn't started direct outreach, right, Peter? We wouldn't have met. And that's given me a lot more opportunities. And it's also given me a lot of failed sales calls where I've gotten to learn more about my target audience. It's given me a lot of failed messaging where I got to learn, okay, like, people they would really appreciate me not to waste their time on this platform. They're like, tell me why you're here in the first 3 seconds, and I'll tell you if it's relevant to me or not. And I appreciate that now. So what I would say, be yourself, absolutely, but make sure that in everything that you post, you're positioning yourself as an expert in the area that you're in, but that absolutely do not shy away from thinking that anything in your life is important. Again, creativity, inspiration, branding, all of that is so important for you to connect with other people. And so if you go into it like, what's the right way to do this, then that's going to remove the curiosity from you, like learning as you go. And I know that's probably not a comfortable answer, but I believe in integrity. And I can just tell you that for me, it's just taken a minute to find what my groove and what my lane was and what worked for me.
Yeah, he's now figured out that he's doing it right.
I'm doing it right.
Yes.
I mean, we have another special guest. What is it? Ladies and gentlemen, my daughter and my dog.
Yeah, we can take care of extra guests.
Okay, she's coming through to get some stuff.
I was just going to add to, just for Rob, one of the strategies that I think about a lot is on LinkedIn is it's kind of like, the multiverse kind of idea. But in this case, it's multi-community, right? So it's I have a community of people that loves to talk about grilling meats and eating food. I have another community that talks about weird LinkedIn, right? So it's all this bizarro kind of stuff. I have a community that talks about web development, right? I have a community that talks about being an agency owner. I have a community that talks about CPG. Get all these different communities together, and you're going to find your people in each of those. And those people are connected to other people. And those are the people that you want to build your community around, so that, you know, when you do your posts, there's lots of different views and there's lots of different content for people to see and learn about who you are.
Mm-hmm. My LinkedIn community, pugs named Kevin, didn't take off. Nobody joined. And my people who love hummus, we only had a couple of members, and it just got really over dramatic.
Yeah,
the whole thing became a source of stress for the 3.5 of us that were in the group.
Yeah.
The thing I was going to say to Robert is, remember, man, back engineer things, put yourself, get to the peak, get to the top of the mountain, look around, now figure out how the hell you got there, and then rebuild that, build that. And it's okay to stumble along the way. You're going to make mistakes, especially when you're starting out with this stuff. This is the best time to fuck it all up because, there isn't anybody looking just yet. So it's great to get this stuff out of the way. That would be my opinion there. And I don't know if we're going to get our other breaking news guy. I know he is on the ground somewhere in Canada at a music festival with a bunch of melting forest. He's probably sitting in a kiddie pool filled with, delicious creamy raspberry melting something or other.
Right.
I don't know, but we'll wait to see if he makes it. I wanted to dive back over to something that I didn't want to forget about. Having one brand, but many conversations. We always tell our clients, you got to be consistent with this, but your message should be able to flex. Are you talking to a first-time buyer or a repeat loyalist? Are you talking to a rural shopper or an urban commuter? I mean, these are different, a parent at home maybe using the same product or purchasing the same, let's say, beverage as a kid on a college campus, but the language with which you speak to them is going to be different. But the consistency, that's what I want to get to. Arielle, how do you see that working in terms of like speaking to people where they're at?
Yeah, this is when I really try to focus on pain points. And it really just depends on the medium of the message. So if we take outreach, for example, I have different targeted campaigns. I'm talking different to a CEO than I'm talking to a sales team in India. My goal every time I'm reaching out to a broad group of people with the same message is to make sure, again, in that first couple of lines, I'm thinking about what their day-to-day pain points are. And I'm thinking about their day-to-day pain points in a way that they haven't named yet. So, for example, when I decided to start working with CEOs and founders, I was like, okay, I know I work on messaging. Like, honestly, this was informed by experience. I loved your comment about back engineering it. It came from having multiple conversations with people on the phone that I did not close any deals with, of just being like, I don't really know how to talk about what I do, either because I'm either mid-brand pivot or like, I feel like I do so many things that I can't nail it succinctly. And so we really work on like nailing a message that will resonate with a broad group of people, not because they're all having the exact same experience, but because they're experiencing the same pain, which could be broad. So one of my favorite Dave Grohl quotes is just like, I love being a musician because you can be singing a song to 10,000 people and they're all singing that same song back to you for 10,000 different reasons. Yeah. And this is how I feel about messaging. I can send you a song that you all know, like, hey, I'm experiencing problems with sales, or I'm experiencing problems with articulating what I do. But the specific reason you're struggling with that is going to be different. So if I can say something in a way that resonates, I know it's going to work every time. And that takes a bit of workshopping and working with people to figure out, okay, like, what do you think your audience is struggling with? And what does that actually look like in their lived, embodied experience?
So for a personal brand or even a corporate entity or product, the soul of the brand remains the same.
Yes.
But the hooks that you use are different. So,
Yes.
you know, there has to be that sort of, it comes from the same mother is what I always use as a analogy. Things may look different. They may sound different. They may hit different. They may land different, but they're all coming from the same mothership.
Absolutely.
And that's not an easy thing to, capture. And you and I, we all know this, that is not a simple thing to capture. I mean, that's one of the reasons why, like you and I and Jeff and others, we charge money to be able to do that. And it's not because we have a silver bullet to do it. It's because we've got a depth of background in doing it. We've already made a ton of mistakes.
Yes.
You're not paying for those.
Yes.
You're paying for what we've learned from all of this moving forward, and the fact that we stuck in the game and hung out long enough to continue doing it. So interesting. I think of that too, and I go, what happens to someone when they don't sort of create the variance of messaging, where they treat everyone exactly the same way? What do you guys think?
I always equate this question, and I always bring it up the same way, is that I have this thing that I tell people, it's only junk mail when it's not relevant to you.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone else thinks it's a great piece of mail that they just got in their mailbox, and they're not shredding it and throwing it into the garbage as soon as they walk back in the house, that it's relevant to.
Jeff, you are generous. I will tell you that.
It's true though. If I was in a situation which happens for most people, like every, I don't know, 30 years or something, where I needed a roof put in and I got a piece of mail that's from a roofer, it would be relevant to me at that moment. But it's not relative to me for the other 20 something years. And so there's this thing about giving people relevant messages or content that makes you more successful, right? Because if you're sending somebody something that you already know that they're interested in, it's not junk.
Yeah. And I think it just depends on what stage you are in the process with your customer and in your own business journey. Like sometimes if you're a startup, you're still getting to know your customer. You haven't really sold anything. You don't know what's important to them. You don't know what their values are. And so there's going to be a little bit of testing that's involved. But a brand that's just like, I need a refresh in my messaging, we want something new, you pretty much know who your core customer profile is. And so it's not that necessarily, again, the soul of it stays the same. We just need to say it in a slightly different way for them to be like, oh, okay. It's like when this is a safe space. It's like when a woman puts on lingerie. Like, it's just like, hey, this is the same body packaged in a new way, still going to meet the needs that you have. It's essentially the same thing. So it really just depends. So what I think people miss when sometimes I think at the beginning, the message needs to be varied because you need to test. You need to see what's clicking with people, what's not. You need to see what kind of people the message is clicking with. And then later on in the process, it's just, how do we say this in a way that lets people know, Domino's is doing this right now with the stuffed crust thing. It's like stuffed crust is not revolutionary.
I know. Like what the...
But, I have to give them props. It was clever that they had, whether it was staged or not, but they had people look at the empty box because they'd never done it before. And it's amazing how people were thinking that they have.
And it got me. I went and got a pizza because I was just like, I need to know what this is. Like, again, that's not a revolutionary brand new thing, but they made me curious enough to go, you know what? I have had stuffed crust pizza, but I've never had Domino's stuffed crust pizza because they've never had that before. So it really just depends.
Well, as long as they're not stuffing it with dirt and sand.
Well, that's true. Especially
it makes me think like a Pizza Hut. I always felt Pizza Hut pizza should come with a roll of toilet paper, because it's just. Anyway, there you go. How's that?
That's the opposite of a plug.
That was. Well, they opted out of the sponsorship. They opted out. I mean, by opted out, I mean they didn't return the message, and
That's
by
right. They never answered.
didn't return the message, I don't know if I ever actually sent it, so that could be on me. That could be on me. So what do we get when we do these things right? We build trust, we earn loyalty,
Yes.
conversions, word of mouth. What else? What else happens when a personal brand or a brand does it right? What do they get out of it?
All of the things that you just said.
Mhm.
They get conversion, they get loyalty, they get trust. And I think honestly, they get a little bit more ease, right? It's difficult acquiring new customers. Like it's just tough to just like get people to pay you money sometimes. And so once you have those people and you become a safe space for those people, you come a place where they feel like they belong and that they're a part of. That's a great thing because you're not necessarily going to have to work as hard. You can focus on other things.
Jeff, and we talk about this all the time, and we should all sort of put a thinking cap on how we segment our audiences.
Yes.
You do, Jeff. Why don't you mention that, because you do a lot of that at the front end when we're talking about a client who, a lot of times we work with clients, Arielle, that the client says, well, no, I already know who my audience is. And we go, really? Like, where did you get that information from?
Yeah.
And they're like, well, it's just common sense. We know who they are. And I go, yeah, but that doesn't help us do our job. We need more than that. When we segment an audience, Jeff, what are we talking about?
Yeah, I mean, that's a great point in that sometimes it's even data driven, right? So they're like, oh, well, the data says, the data is great and essential to marketing, but it is only as good as the person who's analyzing it and translates that data into messaging that potential customers can understand and relate to.
Yeah.
Like that's the thing about data. You can pay for a report and look at the data. You can look at your analytics. It's just, how do you translate that into something effective, right? So the idea of segmentation is that, let's just say as an example, like on an email, if I know a customer is buying a certain category or a certain specific product, why wouldn't I send them a message directly to them about that category and product instead of just sending them the generic thing?
Yeah.
As though they're not even a customer. They're just like you're pitching them on something they've already purchased. So, why do that? Why not go one step further? Maybe even offer them something where it's not even a pitch. It's just like, we know that you have this product. Here's a great recipe to use when you're using the product. Like that's how you build trust is using those segments, or using those people that you've identified, and give them the very personal message.
Yeah. And I would say, like, there's a couple of ways you look at data. Anybody who does this knows that there are two different kinds. You have quantitative data that will give you the numbers, and they will tell you that some sort of phenomenon is happening, something is happening here. And then you have qualitative data, which you need to know why. And that's really the side that I work on. It's just like, it's great that like women over the age of 50 buy this product more than anybody else. But if we're going to influence the messaging and attract more of them, we need to know why women over the age of 50 are buying this product, and why are they buying it more from you than from your competitors. And those are the things that I'm going to pressure test, that I'm going to ask about to make sure, because it's one thing to have data. It's another thing to actually be able to use it. And I mean, more than just aggregate it and come to conclusions. It's different to be able to apply those conclusions. And you sometimes need more information to do that. And I think that's probably a lot of the work that you two do. And that's what I do. I'm like, okay, it's great. I'm happy that we know that this is a phenomenon that's happening. We need to figure out why, because then we can compound our efforts and have gains.
Right. Right.
We got a great question here from our friend Ryan. And he wants to know, in fact, we're doing some work with Ryan right now. I love it. He's like, instead of us booking a call, we're just going to do it right here. No. He is asking a great question, though, one that we haven't actually gone over with him, and I appreciate him asking this. With all the work we're doing right now, we're in the middle of a naming exercise. How important is your business name to your overall brand identity? What do you guys think about that? I mean, for me, I could go a lot of different ways on that. So is your business name, how does your business name play a role in your brand identity? Does it? Should it? I think the answer to that is yes.
Yes.
You know, if you could be, you know, if you're a plumber and you show up with a team of 3 guys in a big wrapped van, cool. If you're a plumber and you show up in an unmarked pickup truck, you're chucking a truck, you're not giving off the same vibes. You're both plumbers, but you're not giving off the same vibes. So what is it in a name for you guys that matters to brand perception?
To me, I always like to bring things back down to a micro level so people can understand them fairly easily. A name is a signifier. It's a cultural signifier. So to make this very plain, if you hear that somebody's named LaQuisha, you already make assumptions about who that person is, versus if you hear somebody's named is Connor or something like that.
Yes.
And you can apply that same logic to branding. It's going to be one of the markers for people to know if they belong to you or not, right?
Yeah.
It's one of the first ways they start to say, do I belong with this group? Am I in the in group or am I in the out group? Am I in the out group? So I think that they're extremely important.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Jeff, what are your thoughts?
No, yeah, I would basically be saying the same thing in that I think it's tough though, because there's lots of companies that have made it with names that are kind of crazy when you think about it. Like, well, even Apple, I'm okay with Apple actually more so than like Google or Uber, and you know, these kind of things. I think it depends on what it is your business is too, right? And who you're talking to, on how important it is to distill it down to something they can immediately understand. I think in service-based in service-based companies, I think it's almost more important, right? That it's something that somebody's going to look at and say, okay, I understand, you know, kind of what you're delivering here. With a product, it's different because they have a physical product at retail and the name is the name, but they're more interested in what the product is, right? I think there's a little bit of a difference between the product and the service part, I think.
Yeah. I would say, to answer Ryan's question on my end, is that, you know, the name of your business has to be something you can, as we've discussed, it has to roll off the tongue. It has to be easy to confidently speak about. It doesn't have to be like super explanatory of the services you provide. I think you can, I think a lot of times a tagline is a clarifier of that.
Yes.
People remember the name. You know, what is Abu Dhabi? What is Google? What is Yahoo? And, you know, that sticks. They're going to find out the rest because they're interested now. Now, not that we're doing that. Like, just as an example, a client of ours, Blabba Booth, they're top 1 or 2 makers and distributors of photo booths in destinations, amusement parks, malls, what have you, theaters around the world. The name of that division is Blabba Booth. And when we first met them, we were like, how do we spell Blabba Booth? I kept spelling it wrong, but they were like, we're going to stick with it. I said, great, we can work with that. And you know why we feel we should work with that is because it's so unique. It could be something that we can turn into an iconic term, like a Google, like a, you know,
yes,
could be turned into something and become a noun or a verb or something, adjective. So that works. And then, you know, when they started exploring the idea of maybe a name change, you know, we went through a lot of different names, but one of the things that kept coming back to us is like, what about picture box, or what about box you stand in that you get your image taken? None of these you're just saying things that it does.
right,
It's not a brand name,
right.
Yeah.
you know. Snap booth, like, okay, you know. But it's interesting when you go through that, Ryan, and we're going through it now. How do you land on something that people go, you know? I guess the question is, do you want to be a Corolla, or are you a Lexus?
Yeah.
And there is an answer somewhere in the middle too that's okay. But like you go, who are you? What are you going to be to people? Are you guys going to be a super trustworthy jack of all trades? Are you guys the Swiss Army knife of distribution and growth for these companies? You know, what are you, and how can we come up with that? And we're looking for names that not only stick out and are available, and as Ryan is discovering now, which is so incredibly wild, is that, you know, there's not a lot of names left.
I know.
You know, there's a lot of people who go unnamed, Jeff, that love names and buy the domains because they're like, yes. And it's a smart thing. I know you've done well with that. But it's interesting because it's hard to find a name that you can own and that you can have. And you got to get clever. Brandartica didn't come out of nowhere. I kind of did, but it was one of our ayahuasca brainstorms. But yeah, it's a great question, and hopefully, you know, at some point we'll crack that code for Ryan. We're looking forward to finding something that really makes him happy and proud. That's the end all be all. You know, you gotta be. It's like getting a tattoo.
Yeah.
Yes.
Cool. So I know we've got a few more minutes left. You know, do you want to give us a little bit of? I haven't seen our friend Bob.
Well, he's not in here, but he just said hi on the comment.
Well, get the hell in
the
here,
kiddie
Bob.
pool with the raspberries.
Maybe he's available, Jeff. Send him the link if you can again. He may just be on his phone and not have access to the rest of it.
Okay, I'll see if I can.
Yeah. These are all viable, great questions we've been having. You know. So overall, one message, many audiences. What's the verdict? Human?
Yeah, I mean, again, I think it depends on where you are in the process, but eventually we should get to one message, many audiences. There will be a core message. There are different ways that we can say the same thing, but there should be something underneath that's driving it. Like, so when I work with clients, I call it the through line session. It's like we're trying to find the through line of everything. So you know what's true, like you know what your work is, you know who it serves, you know why it's valuable to them. You may talk about that different in your bio or on a podcast, or even like, I'm excluding taglines. The tagline should stay the same. The tagline should stay the same.
Yeah.
But if you know the core of what you do and the impact that it makes, that's the line that I'm trying to help you find. So I would probably, if I had to land somewhere, I would say one line, many audiences. I tell people all the time, like, you know, if they ask me like, why does it cost this if I'm just getting like a tagline, or if I'm just getting a phrase? And I'm like, when you go see a movie or when you read a book, you don't remember the entire script because you don't have access to it. But there's one thing that stands out that is memorable for you that you could, if anybody asks you about it, it's clear. They know exactly what it means. They know the impact it's going to have when they say it to somebody. That's the thing that I'm interested in helping you find. That one line that people are going to be like, I get it. I get exactly why I need this. I get exactly why you're the person or the brand or the product that I need, because you've reflected me back to me. I see myself in you. I'm trying to help you find that.
100%. 100%. Before we close out, we've got our good buddy here, and we're going to let him in a second here. Let me see if I can load up this introduction we so caringly and lovingly created for him. I wanted him to feel.
We'll come back though.
When he got on here. So I'm gonna pop us. We'll pop ourselves out real quick and see what happens here. And
that was unbelievable. You're hilarious. I don't even know if I'm on the air or not. Let's see. Log in.
You are. Oh, he just got off.
oh, he logged out.
We just logged out. If he comes back,
That might be nice. We'll play the whole intro again.
You hit the wrong button.
I love that.
It's okay.
Whoever that person was that asked about authenticity earlier, this is what I meant. Just
Right.
Shit happens.
Oh,
right?
he's back.
There he is.
Hey, Okay,
Hi,
first of all,
Robert. Meet Arielle Davis.
Hi,
and
Arielle.
Hi, nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you. I'm sorry for coming in and having no clue what you guys have been talking about
But
because
we want to know where you are. What are you doing?
Yeah,
today?
what's going on? What's happening out in the world?
okay, first of all, that intro, Pete. I want to see that again. I need you to send that to me. I got
I
and
will.
and the invoice. Okay.
Yeah, okay, yeah. We'll see that.
Okay, where I am at the Tall Pines Music Festival. It's in hard to explain so quick. You see, north of Toronto, we've got this thing called Highway 400, which everybody from Toronto knows because it's your friend or your enemy, especially on like crazy weekends when the traffic knocks you down for like 4 hours. But up the 400, first you get a city called Barrie, which is more of like a bedroom community now. But then after that, you get up to Aurelia, where I went to summer camp for like 15 years. And then after Aurelia, Gravenhurst, Bracebridge, Huntsville. Now, on the western flank, you've got some area called Georgian Bay, but all of it together is what you call the playground for the GTA, the Greater Toronto Area. And there's a few Americans that like to come up to the Muskoka region as well. So if you look, I don't know if you can see it, but the stage is right there on the
Nice.
screen. So you see at the top, it says Muskoka, and
Oh,
over
yeah.
there on the left, the Tall Pines. That's going to be up on the right too. What you see here are the 7 pallets. What we're doing is we're doing the sponsorship for the non-alc. And here we've got a bunch of our favorite supplier, Coca-Cola, with all their standard stuff. You know, you got to have the mixers, right? You know what I
Oh
mean?
yeah.
Yeah, okay. And then we've got, recognize that?
Oh
See,
yeah.
little 7Ts.
Yeah.
7Ts,
yeah.
2 SKUs of 7Ts, and
Mhm.
2 SKUs of, you see that?
Perfect.
Ooh.
Are going to be
Nice.
on the concessions. So it's a little move to get Perfy and 7Ts a little bit of exposure at this event.
Sure.
And of course, we got to take care of some extra hydration with their body armor need.
Oh, yeah.
And I do a lot of Coke wholesaling, so the t-shirts and the hats are on the way. But
Nice.
also down here for the VIP section, we got a little sizzle, we got more Perfy, we got Sadie soda, and then we got the IQ bars for the staff volunteers.
I
So
love
there's
it.
no shortage of protein.
You got that
Love it.
Huckleberry Sadie?
Oh God! And homage to Dave and Heather, Huckleberry, huh? That's
Wow.
there's not too many Huckleberry SKUs out there, and yeah, and not only Huckleberry vanilla.
Oh, hey.
Yeah. So
That's good.
Who's
I hope
playing
the
the
moving
show?
around isn't like bouncy too much for anybody.
No.
Who's playing the show?
But this is what we wanted to do, just sort of give you guys a little bit of a little window on what's going on here. You hear the beeps, you see the machines running around. This is setup day. So I got to make sure that all the product goes to that concession stand.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's another one over there.
Yep.
Okay,
it.
so, and then the other thing too is, what are we on LinkedIn for, right? We're
Right.
networking.
That's right,
We're
baby.
doing deals. We're trying to do biz. So one of the
That's-
most important things is powerful energy integrating with a company called 232 Productions. Again, those in the Toronto area are familiar with the name Veld and Boots and Hearts. For you guys, just think Bonnaroo and Coachella.
Oh,
Get my
okay.
point? Okay,
Yeah.
so part of my job today is to not only make sure that we do the job here and get these new brands that are coming into Canada taken care of, we also want to make sure that we do as good a job as possible so we can integrate with 232. Thanks to Stefan at Muskoka 411 and Kevin at Front Row Productions for setting
Little
this all
shout
up.
outs there.
Yeah, well, you guys mention the people.
I'm wondering,
The show
Robert,
that I'm really scared about right now is my sister, otherwise known as Boss Overlord, might be walking up any second, which would be absolutely comical that you guys would go hysterical if she doesn't know I'm like live on a podcast right now. So she
will
would
I have
walk
to
up
create
and
an intro for
be
her too?
herself and start ripping me. What are you doing? Why did you park there?
Why
How
did you
come you
do
weren't?
that?
Yeah.
You don't do anything right, Robert.
Wow. Hey, Robert, we got to get ourselves out of here and we got to
Sorry?
let Arielle go. But thank you for popping in with us today.
Yeah, so
Well,
it's so great.
See,
We'll
now
do
that
it
you got
again.
the intro, you're psyched to come back, right?
Oh my God! We gotta. Like I said, send me an invoice. Okay,
I will. I'll send you
that was
the
incredible.
copy. All
Nice
right,
to
brother.
meet you, Arielle.
Take care, my friend.
Good to
Enjoy the
see you,
show.
Kevin.
Hey, Toronto.
Thanks, guys.
Fun.
Cheers.
You got it.
Bye.
Oh my God, that's fun. How much fun is that? We're just going to keep doing it.
I like him. Next time, please speak to his sister as well. She sounds great.
Sounds like she's a live wire. So, hey, anything you want to like drop out there for people who want to get in touch with you? I want to make sure that I encourage everybody to make sure you connect with Arielle following this, and you know, anything else where they can find you, find out more, website, URL, this, that, the other thing.
The best place to find me and connect with me is on LinkedIn.
Love it. Love it. Well, I am so thrilled we got to have you on today.
Yes.
Absolutely.
It has been great. Thank you so much. I had so much fun. This wasn't stuffy. I didn't expect it to be, because Peter, you're just like a great time every time I talk to you. Jeff, you were a great time as well.
Thank you.
They also call us the Good Time Boys.
That's right. That's
what we
that was our
called
original
you.
name before we went to Brand Antarctica.
The Good Time Boys.
Good Time Boys.
Hey, that's it.
It's so creepy. All right, you go have yourself a great rest of day, hey?
Yes, you too. Thank you.
All
Thank you so
right.
much.
Thank you.
Bye.
All right, ending the stream here. We got to get out of the stream, man. They don't make this easy. They never do. It's like
No,
1,000 hurdles to get
Press
through it.
button.